What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a new segment to roll by you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm thinking about calling this Table Talk. And essentially all we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the gear, the tackle, the tips and tricks and techniques, the things that are working for me right now in the bodies of water that I'm fishing. I'll also be sharing tips that I've learned from some of the amazing anglers I get a chance to work with from around the country. And I'll also share some of the hot deals that I find as I'm picking up new gear and tackle around the interwebs. Mostly I just wanted to do something like this more consistently, get you on more fish, and help you save some money and hook up more deals. I think we can do that with this segment. Today, we're talking about Ned Rigs. Specifically, the Ned Rigs I'm using right now, what bodies of water I'm fishing them in, what gear I'm using to fish them with, and got a hot deal to share with you as well that I found on Amazon. So all of that coming up here in just a second. If you like content like this, you want more unboxing, gear reviews, tackle reviews, and fishing videos, we do it all here on the channel at BurlyFishing. So please consider subscribing, smash a like on this video, and ring that notification bell so you can see when we drop more content. We also stream live on YouTube every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, me and my buddy Paul talking to amazing special guests, people in the fishing industry that you'll want to hear from and talk to. We'd love to see you there and talk to you in chat. So let's dive in. Ned Rigs. If you guys have followed the channel at all, like for any more than one episode, you probably know that I like the Ned Rig. I fish the Ned Rig a lot. So I also, of course, get a ton of questions about the Ned Rig. How do I rig it? Where do I fish it? How do I fish it? What gear do I use? Let's cover all that today. But first, I want to show you guys a pretty slick deal that I found on Amazon for Ned Rigs. So if you're looking to pick up some Ned jigs, they are a specialized type of jig, then I'd recommend checking this out. We're gonna put them to the test here on the channel as well. You'll see me fish these a bunch here pretty soon, especially for bed fishing season. But this is the Mad Bite Ned Rig Jig Pack. It's specifically 48 pieces. It's normally $21 to $25.99 on Amazon, and you guys can pick them up on sale right now. As of the dropping of this video, their current sale is probably 40% off. I actually picked up a special deal at 60% off, but it was like a 48-hour flash sale. So sorry if that's not still available. I mean, I kind of caught it at the last minute too, so chances are you can at least get the 40% off. So it comes out to like 15 bucks for 48 jigs. It's kind of a deal. So check this out. Inside here, we have this nice big clamshell package for a bunch of Ned jigs. They're actually painted. They come in different colors. This is nuts. And they come in 3 different varieties. So if you guys aren't familiar, you can get your Ned jigs a whole bunch of different ways. I usually carry a few different colors and a few different types. So here we've got a Super K jigs, a little bit of a lighter jig right there, and a super light jig here, a 3/32 ounce from Mule Jigs. So Super K, Mule Jigs, chartreuse, orange. I've also got brown, black, green pumpkin, purple, like all sorts of different colors. And there's a few new colors like white in here that I haven't fished that I'm excited to do. This is a straight shank hook. So it's just straight. Just like that, you got a little bait keeper wire on it. These also come in, what we're about to unbox, EWG style. So it's actually an EWG fused with your little lead head there. That one's from Owner Hooks. It's called the Blockhead. They also usually have an option for a wire weed guard, something like this. This is from Z-Man, it's their Pro Shrooms. But at the end of the day, it's simply a jig head that's meant to carry some sort of small plastic, something like one of these. These are the Z-Man Finesse series. So this is the Finesse TRD, just kind of like a little straight stick worm. That's about 3 inches. And then we've got this one right here. This is a June bug color one, but it has a little tentacles on it, right? It's tube style. This one's called the TRD, the Real Deal Ticklers. And of course I appreciate that Z-Man went with TRD, which is a turd. We call them turds all the time. And what you'll end up doing is you'll just rig it to that jig, just like this. Looks like a little straight body deal right there. So what we went with this Amazon deal is actually the EWG style. The reason I did that is around the area that I fish, we do have like a lot of rocky areas, but most of what I fish the Ned Rig around, other than bed fishing season, which we'll talk about in a minute, is around brush, logs, basically Snag City, USA. So when you're using something like this, especially on the rivers around me, which are fantastic for smallmouth fishing a Ned Rig, you will smash smallies. Using a EWG will save you a lot of hangups. So let's check these out. Wow. Okay, it's stapled shut, so not ideal. That's okay, I'm gonna just move these to a tackle box. All right, so I'm just gonna grab a big one so it's easy to see. So we got a chartreuse head. It comes also in white, black, what I thought was green pumpkin, but is definitely just brown, and that's fine. So a little brown. So we've got 4 different colors: black, white, brown, chartreuse. So it actually comes in 4 different weights as well. Check this out. Weight-wise, we've got in the smallest in 1/16 ounce, then we've got 1/8 ounce, then we got 3/16, and then we've got a 1/4 ounce. So decent variety here. Basically, the way I think about it is if I'm in heavy current, high wind, I'm using these 2 heavier weights. Usually a 1/4 is like my favorite to throw there. If I don't have a lot of current, if I'm in still water, if I'm on a lake, if I'm going shallower, these 2 guys right here, 1/16 or the 1/8. The 1/8 personally, my favorite weight to throw. The 1/8 is typically what I'm grabbing is that. And then the 1/4 ounce, deeper areas, high current, high wind, you kind of have to do it. So in addition to that, it is important to note that you get a much smaller amount quantity-wise of the white and chartreuse. I think there's only about 8 each of these. The vast majority of this kit comes in the black and brown colors, which is fine. I mean, the color to me, not as important. I just find that if I'm fishing super deep or dirty water to chocolate milk even, I'm throwing these 2 colors right here, those bright colors like that. They'll stand out so much better. And chartreuse pairs with my favorite color to throw of all time, which is the Z-Man Finesse TRD in Copper Truce. These 2 go together like PB and J, and they catch so many smallmouth, it's ridiculous. So overall, just kind of looking at build quality here, what we're looking at is you've got a pretty light wire hook as compared to my Super K setups. It's about the same, right? About the same, which is cool, which is good. I like that. Using a lighter wire hook makes it so much easier to hook up. Like you are using light gear, light line, lighter action power rod, smaller reels when you're using Ned Rigs. So you don't want like a big stout 3/0 hook. That just makes it really hard to stick the bass. So you're gonna end up losing more fish than you catch if you do that. So lighter wire goes a long way. So I like that they're using lighter wire on this. I always try to check like the connection point of the hook. If you guys make your jigs, you're really familiar with the fact that you have the hook separate of the jigs. So typically you lay the hook into a mold, you pour your lead in, it molds around the hook, and then if you use a good quality mold and you have a better build quality, then you're gonna have a strong connection and you're not gonna have like this loose feeling, shaky kind of hook in that mold. That would be bad because you're gonna lose the weight when you hook into a fish, and that obviously would not be ideal. So for this, I would say build quality feels pretty good. Like I feel like this is gonna hold up. Even if I put like some torque on this, I think it's gonna hold up. So yeah, all around, solid kit. Highly recommend. You guys are looking to get some jigs to stock up. Again, you can get them straight shank, weed guard, or EWG. Pick your poison, go pick them up. It's on Amazon, it's on a discount right now. Get the deal. All right, so let's talk gear and then we'll talk tips, tricks, techniques that you can use to land more bass right now. So gear-wise, let's start with the plastics. I gotta tell you my absolute favorite thing to throw on a Ned rig of any style, EWG, weed guard, or straight shank, is the Z-Man Finesse TRD. Here's why. It's a Laztec. They're borderline invincible. They hold up forever. This one plastic right here, as long as you don't lose the jig, break off, etc., you can land 100 fish on this. So the first tip I would give you is go get the invincible plastics. Just skip right to the top. So Z-Man's the way to go. They also come in a bunch of different varieties. We've got more of the beaver style, right? I kind of love these. I think they're called the turd bugs. Then we've got the craw style. We've got one of my new favorites that I want to start fishing more, the goat. I usually use a baby goat. They come in 3 different sizes, and I'll throw that up on some Ned Rigs. Not shown, we have tubes. We've got Hellogramite. Tell me in the comments how you say it. Use phonetics. And then we got the turd ticklers. Check that baby out right there. These things are sweet. And again, all of them Elastec, super durable, come in a bunch of different colors. My absolute favorite colors to throw, some type of purple. This color is called Mood Ring, or chartreuse, copper truce right there. Those are 2 I go to. My backup would be what they call the deal, which is more like this baby blue and green pumpkin. That thing will jam. They come in bubblegum. They've got black, green pumpkin, blah, blah, blah. Thousands of different colors. Go check them out. You pick your favorite for your local waters. probably based off the other plastics you already fish with. If we move outside of the Z-Man world, there are other great plastics out there you guys should definitely check out. One of my personal favorites for fishing the river, especially when it's super dirty or chocolate milky, the Guggen Rattlin' Ned. It's got a little rattle to it, okay, which does come out. You can actually take it right out of here. So it's just one of those little rattle chambers, right? And then you can fish without that, in which case this thing should stand up a little bit better. I typically leave the rattle in. Again, especially if I'm on the river, knocking this thing around cover, rocks, trees, typically helps me get a bite on the smallies. So I love throwing that around. You've got the Strike King Ned Ocho. Pretty fantastic. Comes in two-tone colors and swirl colors and solid colors. These are pretty durable. Not super stretchy by any means, of course. They're not a Z-Man Elastec, but solid nonetheless. They've got some really good action to them. I like those. We've got the Missile Baits D-Bomb. I like this one for its paddle tail. That's pretty cool. Lots of extra action on that. Missile Baits, pretty durable plastics. One of my other favorites as well. Then we've got this super dense salted up plastic, the Yammy Fish by Jackal. Came in contact with this one thanks to our buddy Mr. Bass, who sent me a box from Tackle Warehouse, including this, because he knows I like Ned Rigs. These ones are pretty sweet. Solid shape to it. It has that copper flake in there. Copper flake kills it in the river for me. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it works, but copper flake over red flake, over any other type of flake, copper absolutely crushes it. So the Yammy Fish, we've caught a lot of smallies on this. My buddy Paul was catching them a ton the other day on the river. This one I haven't fished as much, but if you guys want to check them out, by all means, check them out. But it's just something really different that you could throw. That's a Lunker Hunt Frog. Actually got this one from Debo's Fishing. Sent me this again in another Tackle Warehouse box swap. I do those sometime on the channel with other creators. It's a lot of fun. We're kind of due for some more. We should do some more of those. But nifty little guy, right? We got the little plastic frog there, dangly legs on it, and it's a jig head right there with a little wire weed guard. So it's gonna sit on the bottom. Those legs are gonna do their crazy thing. Decently durable plastic. Pretty cool. So that's pretty much what's in my Ned box right now. And here's my Ned box. And I also get this question / concern all the time from viewers and people on Instagram. So I'm just gonna handle this for you right now. Actually, even Z-Man reached out to me in a DM and said, hey, be careful. And you're right, Elastec does not interact well with plastisol or really any type of other plastic. So if these two were stored together, what would happen is you get this fused goopy mess. So if you're storing Z-Man plastics, do not store them with other plastics. Here's the deal though. This is a Busby Colony 15. When this container is shut, there's no spillover. So these plastics do not interact. I store my normal plastics, non-reactive plastics I'll call them, in their own containers. And then my Z-Man Elastec or reactive plastics over in their own containers, and they never touch. And these have been sitting in here for weeks. I have had them in other tackle boxes. So you don't have to get a Busby by any means. I've had them in like the standard Plano stowaway boxes all together, just separate in their little, sections. With no spillover, there's no issue. So it's not like interacting with the air inside of the tackle box. I can't speak for super cheap boxes, like I've had Ozark Trails and stuff like that before. No offense to Ozark Trail users by any means, like don't get me wrong there. I'm just saying if the quality of the plastic is a little bit lower, I can't guarantee, don't quote me on this, that your Z-Man won't melt to the actual tackle box. But on these like higher quality boxes, I've never had an issue, and I've used them in several different types. The Busby boxes, the Plano boxes, you use those, you should be fine. Just again, don't store it with other plastics like the Lunker Hunt or something like that, and it won't melt, and you'll be fine. I will say it's probably smarter just to store them in the original plastic bags that they come with. So, again, don't quote me on this and go melt all your plastics and get mad at me, because I told you right here, caveat, just store them in the original packaging. I just like this because it's easy for me to take to the bank or throw in the back of my boat, because I always fish the Ned rig. It's an all year round rig that I use. So my preference. You guys do what works for you. All right, so let's talk rods, reels, line. Obviously, we got to put this thing in the water. If we're going to catch a fish, that's what we got to do next. I use two setups for the Ned rig, one for my heavy rigs and one for my light rigs. So if I'm throwing that 1/16 ounce or the 1/8 even, I'm throwing it on this setup right here. This is the Akuma Ceros, and I am on the Akuma influencer team, so little, bias to this, but I have used a bunch of different rigs for Ned Rigs. Anything from 6-gill fishing. I've used Duckets. I've used Dobbins. I've used Fluger President reels. I've used all sorts of stuff. And I gotta say, hands down, this has been one of my favorite setups that I've used, and I would highly recommend it. It's strong, it's light, and it gets the job freaking done. So this is a light power, fast action. And that's kind of the setup you want. I like light to medium light for those like 1/8 ounce and under kind of jigs. It's just easier to cast with this type of setup, and then it's more sensitive, so it's easier to sense those light bites. The fast action is there because of the same reason you want a fast action on a jig setup, is as soon as you set that hook, you want to punch that hook right through the bass's mouth. So that's going to help you do that. As far as the length, I kayak fish, I go 7 foot. You're more than welcome to go longer than that, but I think 7 foot's like a good, happy medium setting to have for that rod length. So if you're keeping track, we've got a 7-foot rod, light power, fast action. That's my go-to setup. Pick your brand of poison. I like the Okuma Ceros. Check it out. We actually have an Okuma affiliate link in the description below if you want to go try to pick up your own. Now, as far as the reel goes, I've used a bunch of different reels. Like I said, I'm really liking this one. Unfortunately, I can't tell you where to get it because Okuma's super low on stock, and I don't think they sell this one online, and you probably can't find it in stores. But I'm going to tell you about it anyways because I really dig it. This is the Okuma Inspira. First of all, it looks slick as hell. Second of all, it's a solid light reel. This is their 20 size. It is the ISX 20B specifically if you're looking for the model number on it. It's just fantastic. It's super smooth, casts really well, has good strong drag. Even if you hook into a 4-pounder on accident with your light setup, you can handle it. So I really, really dig this setup. And as far as line, you can see the line, right? Because it's high vis. So this is high vis Power Pro braid. I always use braid backer on my spinning reels. I don't even mess around with anything else. It's just so much better at casting. It's not even worth going with straight mono or fluoro. And then I'll go to a fluorocarbon leader. In this case, I'm using 10 to 12 pound braid as the backer. And then that fluoro leader is this right here. It's soft steel fluoro stretch. In this case, I'm using a 10-pound leader on this. I'd recommend going with like a 3 to 6 foot leader. 3 foot if you don't want to have the line getting caught in the guides, because then you can just kind of like pitch and flip into whatever cover you want to fish that Ned rig, which is how I do it, and you don't have the knot connection getting stuck. Only downside to that is you might have to retie that leader line at some point just because it's so much shorter. But if the setup is specifically for Ned rigging and you're not swapping out jig heads that much, you probably don't have to retie that leader that often or tie any knots at all. It's kind of how I roll. This setup always has a Ned rig jig on it. I just change out the plastics if I need to. As for the heavy setups, still went with the Okuma Ceros. In this case, it's the medium heavy. This one is also 7 feet. But this is better for my 1/4 ounce jig. So if I'm using like a heavier jig head there, this is the EWG, slightly heavier wire hook than the straight shanks are. It's a 1/4 ounce head on this one. And as you can see, copper truce, color of choice is right there. This rod just manages that a lot better. It's also better in the river if I'm dealing with smallmouth to have the medium heavy, because if they head into the current, which they always do, they're crazy fighters, having the backbone from the medium heavy can save me from a lot of headache. Otherwise with the light, I gotta kind of let them run until they're tired, which could be a while. And when you're managing water, that can be kind of a pain in the butt, not ideal conditions. The reel I have on this one, this is a Shimano Sahara. Same setup as the line, high vis Power Pro to a fluorocarbon leader. But I like this reel, it's really smooth. The only downside I've found with this reel is that this bail, when you flip it, sometimes doesn't do a good job of guiding the line back into the wheel here. I've had that issue happen for a long time. So I'm actually thinking about upgrading that to the Inspira once they get back into stock and getting a bigger size with it. But those are the rigs that I use to fish the Ned rig. Now, where do we fish it? We'll kind of close this one out with some tips. As far as the Ned rig goes, it works everywhere. Deep water, shallow water, cover, no cover, everywhere, docks. Like, it's my favorite bed fishing bait. I absolutely hammer in clear to murky water with a Ned rig on beds. I mean, if you think about it, versus a Texas rig, for example, there's not a lot of distance to the hook. So if you guys have ever played like male bass on beds, they're protecting that bed. If you toss something up in there, what do? They grab it, they try to move it off the bed. Well, in a case of a Ned rig, when they grab it, typically their mouth is really close to that hook point. So I end up hooking into more bedding bass when I use this. Now, I don't only use it during bed fishing season. Like I said, I use it all year round. So the other times I'll use it is, for example, in the river, up against cover. Smallmouth love to pin up against logs, behind rocks, in and out of the current, in the current seams. They're all over the place. But if I can find a spot where I think the smallies are, I can pitch this up river of them and let it drift down through them, and they'll typically grab it. Kind of looks like a bait fish, you know, darting between rocks and cover, or it might also look like a crayfish kind of darting around as well. So they typically hit this thing. Smallies love it. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I've also caught pike, giant bass, catfish, like all sorts of creatures on this thing. It is absolutely ridiculous. And if you guys aren't throwing it, highly recommend that you do. So if you go for the EWG, like the Mad Bite ones that I picked up here, the cool thing about that is you can rig it super weedless. You can chuck it into the nastiest of cover and not worry about getting hung up nearly as much as an open hook or even the weed guard ones. So what I like to do is I'll pitch it up at the bank, especially if I have a steep drop off, if I've got heavy cover, I see a tree down there or something, lay down, I'll just chuck it right into there. If I got a bunch of rocks, I'll let it drift over there, or I'll do the lift and swing technique or the hop technique, right? So you cast it out there, it's kind of like hop it, pop it up over cover. Every time you pop it, you're kind of like partially reeling down. So you're bringing that bait right back to the boat, but it's moving. There's a ton of action as it's moving through, and typically you'll get smacked right there. The lift and swing, on the other hand, you just lift the tip of the rod up to close to midnight. That's going to bring the bait up off the bottom. And then as you drop the rod tip back down, it's going to swing towards the boat. You can swim it. You can twitch it like a fluke if you want to. And then my personal favorite way to fish it is to dead stick it. Pitch it where you think the fish are and just let it sit for 5 to 10 seconds. Literally just so long. Sing yourself a song or something. Do something to occupy yourself. Check out TikTok. Follow BurlyFishing on all the social media platforms and just like all our posts and subscribe and share it with your friends. You know, whatever you want to do to occupy yourself during that period of time, but let it sit there. Just make sure you have a tight line and then you will sense that bite. Again, if you're using lighter gear, the lighter power rod, the super sensitive rod, you get hit, you're gonna see the high vis line and you're gonna see the tip of the rod going. Set that hook, jack that jaw, and you're gonna feel pretty dang good when you put 25 fish in the boat. So there's some tips for you guys. There's the gear I use, there's all the plastics, the jig heads, all that type of stuff. Everything I've used will be linked in the description below, as well as the Amazon deal. I usually pick up all my jigs from Super K Jigs. Go check them out. They're an awesome Wisconsin local company. Choose small business whenever you can. This was mainly a deal I wanted to check out for you guys and for me to see if we could save some cash, right? If you guys have any other questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments below. I appreciate you. I love this community. I love being able to work with you guys. My goal here is to help you get on fish. Catching fish is fun. And if it's not you catching fish, maybe you can help your kids catch fish, or your friends, or your family, or whoever. Hey, I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Hopefully this was helpful for you. If you get a chance, go out and fish the Ned Rig as soon as you can, and maybe subscribe to BurlyFishing if you want to see more content like this, fishing videos and reviews. And then come check us out when we go live on YouTube every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Me and my buddy Paul, we always have an awesome special guest. Come hang out, talk to us and chat. Love to see you there. Thanks again for watching, you guys. Go have a great day. Go catch some fish. Go rip some lips, please. For me, I'm in this office. I'm sweating in front of these lights. Go do it for me. We'll see you guys on the next video.